Thank you everyone for session 3. So many ideas to continue, but I now want to move. 1 second, please.
Yeah. Before we go to session 4, 3 of the previous speakers raised a very interesting question having to do with the potential for the fellowship to work in today's Afghanistan. Of course, there's been a complete ending of connection between the UN and the the Taliban government. Is there any possibility of, because it's almost counterintuitive, but is there any possibility of trying to work through the existing fellows, and Sakut may have an idea, of being able to try to do something in Afghanistan?
Thank you, David. And actually, it is not entirely the case that all connections have been cut. Far from it, in fact. There are efforts, and maybe one very practical suggestion I can make so that we don't give it short shrift is maybe one follow-up in a few weeks is an online session on what can be done with the current situation in Afghanistan. And maybe a few of us can come together and see if we can put together an online session, because I think this is a topic that definitely is on many people's minds. And it would be nice afterwards, because Sakut is just back yesterday from Kabul, and it would be nice to be able to brainstorm a little bit with him and learn a bit more the real situation. Can we do that? Okay. The AFLP Afghan Fellowship Legacy Projects had 2 components. We actually thought that the book component would take forever, and here it is. And we had put a lot of effort and energy on the other component of the legacy projects, which was the creation of botanical gardens in Afghanistan. And that started from very simple observation. We, thanks to Sakut, many times we sent seeds and saplings of the A-bomb survivor trees. So Green Legacy Hiroshima directly led to this very obvious point that we had not seen. And because of a lack of botanical gardens in Afghanistan, we were never able to get that off the ground, or in the ground, if I may so say. And so we started talking to each other, and we realized Afghanistan, alongside 40 other countries, the countries that most need, whether it's for food security or biodiversity protection or for climate change issues, saving local plants, these countries didn't even have a single botanical gardens. And so with Humaira, we thought, okay, the creation of the botanical gardens through our network of fellows could be one practical thing we could do, and it could become a overall mission for UNITAR itself. It was, and that ended up being even more lower cost than the fellowship itself, because we were very fortunate, actually, from the very beginning. I could connect through his writings and his vision to Dr. Ari Novi, who was previously the executive director of the United States Botanic Garden in Washington, D.C. And it so happened that Ari had just moved a few miles from my mother in San Diego, becoming the president of the San Diego Botanic Garden. And so we started this conversation with Ari. Is it possible that we could actually use our network of fellows to create botanic gardens in Afghanistan? That unbelievable mission, working with 3 universities, Kabul University, Bamiyan University, and Paktia University, with the help of our former fellows, obviously led by Sakut Jan, Najib Saburi at Kabul University, and 2 other fellows at Bamiyan and Paktia universities. It was a very, very dynamic, very fast moving, considering that it had 0 budget, 0 organization, 0 benediction from anyone. We just decided we're going to do this. And it has come to a pause in 2021, in August 2021. I would say what we learned till August 2021 was that it was totally doable, that the plant and biodiversity community around the world, the botanical garden community around the world, is one of the easiest to work with. And they're like musicians or mathematicians. They can talk to each other through the language of plants. And they are very dedicated to this idea of botanical gardens everywhere. So AFLP still has a missing piece. I would like to leave Ari to tell us what he observed, did, why he did it, and maybe some ideas and thoughts for the next step, and lead us through into this session. Ari, over to you.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Great. It's just an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. I'm sorry that I'm in San Diego and not with you in Japan or any of the other wonderful places that you are all throughout the world, but it is just a pleasure to be with you all virtually and certainly in shared spirit and heart. I remember the day I got an email forwarded to me from the United States Botanic Garden, where I had recently left to come to San Diego, saying that there was this person named Dr. Nasreen Azimi, who wanted to know if they could contact me and discuss something about botanic gardens in Afghanistan. And I said, of course. It's so kind what Nasreen just said about the botanic garden community. But I think sheepishly, I think it's an accurate statement. We in the botanic garden community are by our very nature a networked series of institutions that we at the core of what botanic gardens do are grow living plants and share them across this worldwide network of botanic gardens for the purpose of plant conservation, economic development in terms of useful plants, food plants, medicinal plants, plants for structure and building, and any of the other uses that plants are for, as well as for education and human well-being, from psychological to health and medicinal. And we have built into our DNA that effort can only succeed if plants can move between institutions, because none of us are immune to the ravages of political instability, natural disasters, plant diseases, all kinds of crazy challenges that can destroy the plant collections that each of our institutions, or at least pieces of the plant collections that each of our institutions work so hard to maintain. And the only true insurance policy against that loss in the name of maintaining all of these plant resources for posterity is to share them very freely and readily with the institutions across the globe that are able to care for the plants that we have. So the concept of new botanic gardens is to become a part of our network is really fundamental to, I think, everything that any botanic garden dedicee does. In my other, I also wear a hat as I'm the chair of Botanic Garden Conservation International US, which is the US branch of a Secretariat of the United Nations, Botanic Garden Conservation International, empowered under the Convention on Biological Diversity, to gather all of the data on the approximately 30% of all plant species around the world that are maintained as living specimens within botanic gardens. And in that role and through that network, we are acutely aware and we study and we write on the need for more botanic gardens to come into existence, in particular in the regions of the world that don't have them, and especially in the regions of the world that neither have them and are also biodiversity hotspots. And so with all of this in mind and knowing how wonderful botanic gardens can be and what a gift they are to the populations that they serve and to the future, and also knowing that they're relatively non-political organizations that everybody kind of loves or at least feels is pretty harmless, with that spirit, it was a pleasure to hear from Nasreen and the UNITAR team that there was an interest in working to create botanic gardens in Afghanistan. And most excitingly, was that the efforts were being championed internally to these three universities that Nasreen just mentioned. And it is very normal throughout the world to have flagship botanic gardens within countries and regions that are attached to universities through the Faculty of Agriculture, Faculty of Ecology, Faculty of Biology, really, some pretty standard kinds of organizational structures found very typically in universities throughout the world. And as Nasreen said, we're plant people, and plant people can recognize plant people, and we love other plant people, and we work together very, very well. And it was just inspiring on every level to work with the teams in the three universities who had their own vision for what botanic gardens can be. I confess I was probably the slowest to the party in understanding what was going on. We put together a team of experts from throughout the world, although we were only experts in certain governance structures and kind of like the sequencing of how you put a botanic garden together. The in-country teams, the partners in Afghanistan, they were and are the experts on the flora and the growing of those plants and how that can benefit their culture there. And so we were just enablers, I think, and we took great pleasure in that. I think I had a bit of an epiphany moment. We worked, for a while, we were meeting basically monthly with at least one of the teams in Afghanistan, mainly via Zoom, running through the process of all the various things that need to be done to design and execute and build a botanic garden. And it was everything from how to think about plant collections, how to choose the land and prepare the land, how to raise money, fund it, operational plans, the staffing plans, and master planning, site planning. It was so much fun to do this. And over the course of the time we did it, which was really almost 2 years, the teams made so much progress. And I think a big epiphany I had was we were reviewing plant lists. We asked for each of the university teams to share with us what were the plants that were most important to them to form the basis of the living collections of these emerging botanic gardens. And I remember reading through these plant lists and I went, oh my gosh, these are the plants of the Garden of Eden, because that's the region of the world, the floristic region of the world. And the plants that are native to Afghanistan and adjacent parts of Central Asia are these plants that are just iconic and culturally significant and economically significant from, some of the traditions that bind very, very large portions of the world's population and culture, including my own. And I was slow on the uptake. It took me quite a few months, maybe even a year, to really realize that. But I remember saying that in a meeting, and the Afghan team said, yeah, you just realize that now, welcome to the party, but let's keep moving. So, it's such an exciting time, but a difficult time to give birth to a new botanic garden. The history for most botanic gardens of being given birth to, and this is true for the United States Botanic Garden, it's true for San Diego Botanic Garden, they are created in fits and starts. There are almost always efforts that fizzle for a decade or two, and then something happens and new opportunities come and the institutions restart. And when you really look back to the early histories of most gardens, they have really delicate and difficult birthing processes that come with some steps forward and some steps back. And in that spirit, and recognizing that is an incredibly normal and typical path for botanic gardens to be created. And on the backside of that, once botanic gardens are well established, I am aware of no examples worldwide of established botanic gardens ever going out of existence. They are among the most durable of cultural and scientific institutions in the whole world. And so we made really tremendous progress with the gardens. We continue to have some communication with people both outside of Afghanistan who were involved and even within Afghanistan who would like to still see botanic gardens created in Afghanistan. And we stand ready to continue that effort in the spirit that the world is a tumultuous place and most botanic gardens take 30 to 50 years to really get off the ground. And we're just still in that process. And the gift of a botanic garden to a culture and a community that surrounds it and occupies it and benefits from it is a long and patient process that we think can continue in Afghanistan and will continue, because the idea is an outstanding idea that benefits people regardless of political authority or really any other of those kinds of more divisive issues. So I think I'll end there, and I'll be happy to chime in any way that Nasreen and the team think is most beneficial. And I just want to thank really the whole community, and particularly the UNITAR team, for thinking to engage with the Botanic Garden community in this way. It is a way for us to give forward to the future and hopefully create yet a larger and more inclusive network of people and institutions working for the benefit of people through the benefit of the natural world.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you so much. Now we have witnessed that you have promised. So it's recorded, by the way, so you're on alert. The next person I would like to call for leading comments is my friend and mentor, Monte Kassim. Monte Kassim is president of Akita International University. We founded together also Eden Network, the Emerging and Developing Economies Network, with the idea of sharing some of the lessons of Japan with developing countries. And he has also been one of the very, very first supporters of AFLP BGNet. And in fact, we hosted the launching of BGNet session together in Tokyo, and he is on the International Board of Advisors. Monty John, sorry for the delay. You have the floor. 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Nasreen. I'm going to wax a little romantic about the inroads into the subject that Ari just made. Thanks, Ari. I must first of all congratulate the UNITAR team for their 20th anniversary in Hiroshima and for the 60th anniversary worldwide. I think you have shown by example what international institutions can really be. It's not a matter of size, it's a matter of using every resource you have in the best way possible to have the maximum impact. And I think the initiative to think of the Botanical Gardens Network was one such case. For me, as someone who, something like 25 years, walked in rainforests and waded in coral reefs and tried to resurrect damaged ecosystems, plants are the symbol of life on Earth, really. I mean, they capture the energy from the sun, they gather nutrients from the soils, and they serve humankind and a whole host of other life forms. So this romance of the plant is an aspect that we must also link together with the utilitarian aspects of plants. We all know that they are great, they're fundamental sources of food. Our building materials are made from them. We have medicines that come from them. And they are the centerpiece of ecosystems on land, and even many in the seas. So what I would like to say is that human welfare and plants have been intrinsically connected. And I was quite taken up by the talk about the has everything I've been saying up to what point?
Just the last sentence, what I want to say, you said.
Right. So what I want to say is that I was very intrigued by the conversations that UG initiated and several of you took up on dialogue with the gatekeepers. Now, about 30 years ago, I was involved in setting up an institution for working with the most impoverished communities of the world to make them self-reliant using tools as a modality to bring everyone together. And I think plants can be a similar modality. And I think that was what was behind the original thinking too, that they are a neutral agency for dialogue around which we can bring everyone together. So that was what we hoped to do. And Eden Seminars, which was established in 2018, I think was to give it also a further push. But I think our hopes were dashed by the assassination of Nakamura Tetsu. I think it brought the realities of the ground situation to us. But despite that, the Zoom meetings that Ari mentioned went on. The botanical garden designs went on. I remember power cuts and Zoom meetings are not happy marriages, but the marriage did last. So for me, this resilience that was shown in times of crisis took a bad turn, I think, with the US pullout and the new Taliban gatekeepers of the polity having a slightly different mindset. Now, can we continue the engagement? And I think again there, the UNITAR Afghan Fellowship have sown the seeds that might make this possible. I don't know what the next step is, but certainly you have me behind you in whatever you want to do. And my country, Sri Lanka, has one of the oldest botanical gardens of modern times. Of course, we have ancient botanical gardens, which are over 2,000 years old, which have disappeared, but we have records of how they were managed. And these might be hints for bringing the gatekeepers across to a neutral place. Japan and Afghanistan have had friendly relations. Sri Lanka and Afghanistan have no need to have anything other than friendly relations. And if we can use these neutral places and the agenda of plants to make the transformation that we need, I think it'll be fantastic. Finally, I think with all of these things, it is easy to think that we have failed, but we have not. What exactly is failure? I think failure is when you give up. And no one I noticed here has given up yet. So let us keep at it. And as Winston Churchill said, failure is not fatal. Success is not final. It's the courage to carry on that counts. So let us all keep together, and thank you, UNITAR, for making this platform happen. Thank you, Nasreen. Thank you, Humaira, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you, Montijan. And I know as coming from that same continent that Winston Churchill is not on my list of first quotes, but this is a very, very good quote. So thank you. It's true. We have not failed. We are continuing. And this is proof, the resilience. I think Philip has not been able to join, but I would like, without further ado, to give the floor to Najib. As I mentioned, he was one of the 3 pillars from inside UNITAR Fellowship, Afghan Fellowship, working on the Botanic Gardens at Kabul University. Najib.
Yeah, I'm not an agronomist by profession. I'm electrical engineer. Yeah, and recently has been doing my studies in sustainable energy. But after I got a call and talked with Humaira and of course Sukut, who can say no to be engaged? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I wanted to be engaged in a program that connects me to UNITAR, to the history we had before. But the main one of the main reasons that I agreed to join was that the way this concept was designed, actually. And also the trust I mentioned, these values are in, I see that in Humaira, Nasreen, Sukut, and the others who were involved in this program. So it spontaneously made me to accept it, to join the program. And I was also teaching at Kobe University. So I was initially had the role to be the liaison between the program and also the faculty of agriculture department and the biology department. Yeah, it was a tough tough job. Yeah, because the first thing I was asked by the agriculture department, the faculty, so that why you were here. Yeah, but me and Sukut, we were able to manage that. But later I found a step for me and for my department. We brought the concept of how to make the botanical gardens more sustainable from the energy perspective, and how to design it to be fit to the environment of Afghanistan. So I engaged my colleagues from the architecture department and the energy department to be engaged in the discussions, so that the botanical gardens are to be built in Afghanistan as they can adapt the environment, the economy. So this was what we have been doing on, and I engage my students, and we give them some assignment to work on some typical botanical gardens, and see the failed botanical garden in Kobe University. There was some efforts back in 2000s, but as Ari mentioned, that it takes many years to make actually to give life for a botanical garden. But unfortunately, the Republic collapse happened, and it shocked every one of us, and the UNITAR family. The UNITAR family is not only the Afghans we are all family, and and it also shocked and halted the botanical garden network project. But let me share what happened after that, and that what steps, what actions the network of this botanical garden took. They prioritized their activities by keeping the project in the halt situation, but to manage the crisis starts from how to heal their members. Those who were part of the programs, of course, we were shocked, and it was a trauma for us. So what happens? We got a lot of emotional support, from Ari, from Umaira, from Nasrin Jan. Nasrin Jan, I will not forget. I will always remember that she traveled all the way to Niigata, 8 hours, I think 12 hours, to come and spend a day with me, with my kids, my family, and give us a lot of hope. And we literally forget all the trauma, and that meant a lot for us. And of course, we will not forget that. It is remembered. And so the priority for this program was to take us out of this crisis. Beside the emotional support we received from this network, we got a lot of support from Ari and his team to give us out of that situation. It depends on all the members had different situations. So for me, they were able to manage and award me a fellowship, a very generous fellowship, to join San Diego Botanical Garden and also University of California in San Diego, one of the very prestigious universities. but the destiny was for me was to stay in Japan, and it was not my decision. It was also, I mentioned that I have been using this network a lot, and their advice, this is their advice that I'm here now. So it was the advice of Nasrin Jan and Harry to stay here in Japan and pursue my career and one of the energy companies here in Japan. But Botanical Garden Network, I think it is not only a project. It is creating a network, another network. It is like, let's call it the UNITAR Afghan Fellowship baby. Another, we have been engaged with another pool of experts, and that was really amazing. I think those who have been engaged in this program, they will see that with the blessing of the UNITAR team, we are connected with another big network of experts. So this is how these programs actually mean. So I refresh my commitment to do whatever to give life to the botanical gardens in Afghanistan.
Thank you. Thank you, Najib Jan. I think we have developed a root network now with the BGNet. Sukut Jan, you were one of the leaders. It wasn't your area either, like Najib.
Yes, yes.
You were not a botanist or plant scientist. Tell us.
Okay. Initially, as you mentioned, if I come back to the fellowship was not a project, because by definition, a project has a start and ending date, but the relations, the connection, and the commitment we established, so it is long lasting. And BGNet is one of the good examples. So I would like to talk about the realities. I just came from Afghanistan, so lots of possibilities and why we can do it. In fact, initially I met one of the experts, botanical gardener. I was surprised. He told me that Afghanistan is having more than 3,000 species. So it is surprising to me because I didn't know exactly about it. It means there are people who are taking care of botanical garden. They want botanical garden to be there. For this reason, they know many things. He has given some names like flora, rhubarb, hodgeweed. So I do not remember. So many names. So the other possibilities. So 2 weeks ago, there was ECG donor meetings in Dubai. And now is in Brussels. So there was a rumor when I went to UN compound, in fact, this week. So there was rumor that international community, they are willing to support women. And what they do with women, as Dr. Ford mentioned, here is the windows of opportunity for women. Those women who are having businesses, they can work. So it means what they do, the international community, I hope this could be happening soon. They are providing women with a piece of agricultural land. So it means they are willing to purchase piece of land for women in different provinces. So if it can happen, so it means we have our own places. So how we can engage, so botanical garden, so it means this is a kind of good opportunities. What is the problem Nigel San has just mentioned? Over 32 million hungry people in Afghanistan. This is the problem of food insecurity. But so this could be one of the good engagement we can have. So if we have people interested in species to be in Afghanistan, so nature of Afghanistan. And if suppose if it is happening, women are owner of piece of land, so everything we can do. And I hope it can be happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukut Jan. You've planted another seed yet. Lastly, I want to give the floor briefly to Yuko Baba and Taiga Nishimura, both of whom were involved with our efforts for AFLP from the beginning. Yuko has been working for 3 years as the Secretariat of Green Legacy Hiroshima. So all these connections, and obviously through UNITAR with the follow-up of the Afghan Fellowship. Yuko and then Taiga.
Thank you, Nasrin-san. I'm Yuko. Thank you for having me today's roundtable. I joined UNITAR from 2019 to 2022. And through this roundtable, I found so UNITAR Hiroshima inherited so many things from this Afghan AF program. So yeah, especially effective mentoring system and making bonds between participants and faculty and teachers, resource persons. And as Nasrin-san mentioned, I was a secretariat of Green Legacy Hiroshima during the UNITAR. And the Green Legacy Hiroshima initiative is to share the airborne trees all over the world with our shared desire for peace, the abolishment of nuclear weapons, and raising awareness about the devastating impact of war our environment. When I first joined Green Legacy Hiroshima, I had yet to grasp the true value of living in a green city like Hiroshima. Through this initiative, I gradually discovered the immense efforts by airborne survivor Hibakusha to transform this city into the vibrant green area it is today, and the resilience of the airborne trees. I also came to understand the significance of having expert knowledge and their dedicated facility to preserve seeds and biological knowledge. Without the support of Hiroshima Botanical Garden, our initiative would falter and we would be unable to safeguard the precious airborne tree seeds. I also would like to note some botanical gardens of our dedicated partners, of course, including San Diego Botanical Garden, Botanic Garden, which preserves seeds in their places and become central spots for delivering seeds with peace message. The invaluable lessons I learned from Green Legacy Hiroshima were my motivation to be involved in the BusyNet. As we embarked on workshops and discussions to establish botanical gardens in Afghanistan, I realized the crucial role played by local experts who possessed intimate understanding of the region's culture and nature. Each Afghan university within the BusyNet named Paktir, Bamiyan, and Kabul has embraced a unique and locally inspired vision and for their future botanical gardens. It is a harmonious combination of these local ideas and knowledge supported by a broader international network that yields the best results. Our collective efforts were making significant progress until the unfortunate intervention of the Taliban regime, which brought our advancement to a halt. Yet, even in the face of adversity, I firmly believe the BusyNet initiative retains profound meaning. We continue to search for avenues to revive it and to breathe new life into the seeds we have sown. So just like cherry blossom that blooms after the harsh winter, or the airborne trees that thrived despite the catastrophic circumstances, I am confident that the seeds of BusyNet will eventually flourish. The spirit of resilience that resides within these seeds will prevail, ensuring the achievement of making botanical gardens in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuko. You are the younger generation that we're counting on. You are here as it's a trap. Taiga, last but not least.
Yes, thank you. My name is Taiga Nishimura. I'm a research assistant for AFOP. And it seems like I'm the last speaker on the agenda, so I'll make it very brief. Just about Botanical Gardens Network project. So the question on the agenda for the Botanical Gardens Network project is This, which means where are we going? So the project has been almost put on hold since Taliban's takeover, as you know. While doing so, decades of complex and protracted conflict, along with creeping droughts sparked by climate change, and many other issues like economic fallout, gender inequality, make or increase food insecurity in the country. But as we know now, botanical gardens are indispensable guardians and reservoir of knowledge and experimentation, which are vital to the survival and adaptation of both human and plant life. Well, I hoped we found a way for the project to move forward before this meeting, but now Dr. Ari Novi assured and promised. So it's all of a sudden optimistic and we make it happen. And I am willing to spare no effort to help do so. Meanwhile, I wish this book also spreads the soft power of the community and also FLP to make it easier for us to advance the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Taiga, for your good spirit as always. Arinovi also did mention that sometimes it takes 150 years. So I know that you strategically did not repeat that, but alas, the life of the plant world is much longer than us humans. So Homiru-chan, can I close? First, I apologize to all those online. I know some people are actually on the East Coast of North America, so really our apologies. We're just a little delayed in our lunch, but for some of you, it's really bad. So sorry for that. I want to say that this has really been far more a learning exercise. I thought this was just going to be a little bit of weeping and hugging and feeling good about what we've done, but it's been so much more. It has meant so much for us. I do want to, because it is also everybody's task was to quote some parts of the book, and I want to finish by quoting two people who were not with us, who were some of the forefathers of the fellowship. A very brief passage about them. One was Iqbal Kamal. Iqbal Khan, yeah, you can see the problem is that his daughter is sitting here, but he was one of the many who immediately we said, oh my God, we know nothing about banking and finance and business, and we're going into Afghanistan with this fellowship and we need help. And he was so busy and he said, I'm very busy. And we said, we don't care, your daughter is going to pressure you. And he joined us. He came on 2 trips with me to Kabul, and his good cheer, I've written about him in the book, but I would like to quote him directly. It was actually for a project spreading financial know-how and banking ethics and skills in a book that he published. He wrote, I would like to end by saying that there are lessons to be learned from every culture, every society, and every thought that has been spelled out. We need to devote our scholars and researchers and thinkers to those areas of requirements that our societies need. We need to empower enlightened intellectuals to look for ways to come out of the mess that we have created for ourselves. We must know that we possess and understand it. It's only after that we are able to develop new ideas. Otherwise, we have no claim on anything. And in the words of Goethe, what we do not understand, we do not possess. And the other person I would like to quote, he was actually one of my earliest mentors in New York, Ambassador Jonathan Moore. He was a very burly and very gruff personality. He was a brilliant intellect. He had been for years the ambassador for refugees of the United States. We went with him for the first fact-finding mission to Afghanistan. And when we came back from that trip, our program was transformed, or any idea we had was transformed, and we were transformed. And Jonathan wrote in 2006 on a second trip that we went with Sharapia and a group of others to Afghanistan. He wrote, looking to a future containing promise, hope, danger, and uncertainty. The key resources of Afghanistan nation building lie in the willingness of its people to be forbearing, persistent, unified, and resilient. This social psychology is essential, as is any prodigious human endeavor. And I include in that people of Afghanistan, the people of the fellowship. Continuing to do what can be done as well as possible, not being intimidated by the imposing difficulties, and respecting the need for time. Capacity building, training at different levels, and in a variety of formats and focuses, and where Afghans and internationals collaborate, is a critical component helping to develop both the competencies but also the confidence to be able to continue to move forward. And I would like to finish. I carry as a talisman a book of poems, Persian poems that my late father left when we left for exile from Iran. And in it, he collected over the years some of the most magnificent poetry that thousands of years of Farsi and Dari poetry have produced. And he often told me that for many of us from that part of the world, we had to work on an expanded geography. And the Afghan Fellowship is that expanded geography. We are not limited to one country and one border, physical border. We are part of a world community. We could not stop the tide of history in one part of the world, in Afghanistan and Iran, but we have, as we saw from all these fellows, from Fawad and Mariam and Sharapia and Sohail and everyone else, Jennifer, everyone, that you have expanded the geography of Afghanistan. We've now expanded it to roots of Afghanistan. We've expanded to Sri Lanka and we've expanded to San Diego. So we have continued the work of the Afghan Fellowship, like Hiroshima, which was not built by brick and mortar, but was built by ideas and feelings and emotions and love and hope and despair and anger. I think we will continue in some way the work that we started in this city more than 20 years ago. So thank you, everyone. I have no words to thank my sister, her two daughters patiently sitting. I hope you're not angry with your mom for going overboard. Thank you to all my friends really around this table. I would cook pasta for you till the end of time. And thank you for all those who joined us from afar. We wish you were here. It would have been nicer, but it was already such a blessing. And we will come back to you. Please give us a few weeks. We will come back to you with an idea for an online session to discuss the issue that David and many have raised, is that can we do more with the current Afghanistan from Hiroshima, but from everywhere, because this network is beyond geography. Have a great day, evening, lunch, and thank you for being here. Thank you, Marjan.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you. Bye, Nasreen. Bye, Humaira.
Thank you for a wonderful session. It's been fantastic. From Canada, bye-bye.